Greetings, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Wood Hamster, as always. And today, I believe, we will be switching up the weapon selection just for fun. They do give us a free great sword, so I won't really be explaining about weapons just yet. First, I need to make a few purchases, one should say. But let us continue with the tutorials. There shouldn't be much more left. So last when we left off, we were tasked with getting resource points. And as you saw, we got some resource points by killing a Abnoth. And Junior, no, I'm sure he's called Junior, but he wants to remind us that, you know, some favors to ask, and reminding us that, we need some resource points, and we should go kill carnivores. And as you can see, we have now access to Area 7, 6, and 5. What we're looking for is in 6. He is going to give us some reminders that we can go gather items from plants and stuff like that, and then we should be able to get some healing items. So let's go do that, just to show it off. And when we get near a plant, he will remind us. Oh, yeah, well, that's because that's the stamina. Yes, he's going to remind us that over time our stamina bar will shrink, so we do need food. And here comes the terrible "it happens to everyone" jokes, if it's not already been there. And he explains a little bit about barbecuing. At first, it can be a little tricky to get the timing down. If you're having trouble, there is an armor set that you can use to help you with barbecuing. I can highly recommend it. It does make the process easier. Especially later on when you get special barbecue spits that can do a lot of barbecues at once. And here he's going to remind us about herbs, their healing potency. And, they're mentioning Area 6 a lot. They're making sure that people do not forget, I guess. So, we'll gather a couple more healing herbs. Never hurts to be prepared, even though you can buy them from the merchant for almost nothing. But right now I'm strapped for cash. The Felivine is nothing I can use. So, this is the barbecue minigame. You're supposed to get your timing right. There are 3 types of meats that you can get from barbecuing. I will show the burnt meat. The burnt meat is the worst one you can get. There is a chance of it decreasing your stamina bar, but there's also a chance of it increasing your stamina bar by a little bit. As you can see, I got lucky, and nothing bad happened. But generally, don't trust burnt meat. If you're low on stamina, have nothing left, then there's nothing to lose. And he's going to teach us something new to this game. Another Wiimote gimmick. Basically, instead of going out like in the previous games and just purchasing the manuals with the information of the monsters that we could just read up anytime we want, we now can just click on a monster and drag it. So, let's do that. We press A and B, and we get the cursor there. We click, and we drag it over. I'm sorry if my Wiimote waggling is a little strange. I can't really use the Wiimote very well, considering how close the TV screen is to me. But here you can see I've killed one, and some basic information about them. And it's kind of a nice way to do it. And let's get some more meat. We do need some more meat to show off the rest of the barbecuing. And here For the first time you gather a resource point, he will pop up with this, telling you that you're doing the right thing, even though Apnoth is perhaps not the best thing to gather resource points on. You get to live for now, Apnoth. But let's carve some of that delicious meat and see what's up. Yeah. Now we have 2 pieces of meat. I will show the rest of the results. And as you can see there, I got the timing right. When it turns golden brown, as mentioned, you get the well done steak. It will fill out 2 sections of your stamina bar. It's really nice. So well done steaks is always what you want to go for. The next type of steak is a rare steak. You can see it, well, if you fail completely too early, it just is raw and you don't waste meat. But the rare steak will only fill out 1 section of health bar, but it has no downsides. It cannot remove a section. I'm just going to eat the rare steak since, bam, I don't need more than that. And, so rare steaks are not all too bad, honestly. It's better to press the button a little early than too late. Now, something I should mention about gathering. Gathering has been tweaked a bit while I will explain about it while we take a look at this gorgeous area. But gathering has been tweaked a little bit. As you might have noticed while I was gathering the herbs, there was an icon floating over my head. It means that there's more attempts at gathering. When you're done gathering, the point will despawn. Points will be a little randomized. They will appear, disappear. There are very few points that are always there. These critters are called Bahabras. They are basically this game's version of Vespoids. People who do not know what Vespoids are, they're pretty much just flying mosquitoes that paralyze you. These do exactly the same thing. They just decided we're going to make a new type of monster that is exactly the same as the old. But this icon over your head while you're gathering, as I mentioned, will disappear when you're done gathering. And it's a nice indicator. Something that the previous game did not have, so you'd keep gathering until you got the message that you could not gather from it. It's just nice to be able to see it early. Meet our new nemesis, the Jaggi. These little guys are basically the replacement for the Velociprey from the previous series. They're slightly more of a threat, but not really a threat than what are they called? The Velociprey ever were, really. And why I'm saying this is because they're a bit more mobile, and they can be a little bit more aggressive. On top of that, while the first couple games were limited by the PS2 or the PSP's limits, there could only be so many monsters on screen. In this game, there could be a lot more small critters on the screen, so these guys can swarm you pretty quickly, and in the beginning of the game, they can be dangerous if they do swarm you. But they're still pretty simple to fight. Nothing too challenging. I'm just gonna spend a moment here gaining my bearings on how to use the great swords, since I don't really use great swords too often. What I should be doing is using unsheathing attacks, but I figured maybe I could do some sweeping area of effect attacks. You know, get some sweeps in, but you know, I forget that this great sword doesn't have too much power behind it. Not until it's upgraded. There we go. But as you can see, they're giving me roughly 5 points apiece. I could carve them, but, you know, I don't see any reason. And you can also see how many you've killed per mission. Or not per mission. This is not quite a mission. It is open hunting. And this will be the 5th I've killed. We just need one more kill. And there he is. And, there we go. And that's all I need to do. But we've still got one more area to check out, so let's look at it. It's on our way. But before we leave, I just wanted to check out this area a little bit more. Give it a little look over. And welcome to Area 7. It's got some ancient ruins, some dark lighting, and Kelby. Oh, wanted to kick the Kelby, but it didn't want to stay still. And up there is a little secret place that'll be interesting to show off in high rank, if I do manage to show it off. In every map, there's like a little secret area that you can be teleported to when you get to high rank in multiplayer. And they will have extra good gathering spots always up there. So it is always worth being sent up to the secret spot. And it's only 30 points. Yes, that is exactly... It's only 30 points. It's not very much, to be honest. But now that we have the 30 points, he's explaining about the hunt report, but I did kind of show it off earlier. But I'll explain it in better detail. Well, once we get into town. And, now that we're back in the town, we can go talk to Sunny Boy here. Yeah. And, you know, every time you talk to him, he'll give you tips and hints about resources and managing them. So I will, for the most part, probably be skipping through them. As you can see, now I turn them on, and I get some items. Every time, you know, different monsters have a chance of giving different items when you go to your hunt report. So, sometimes, if you need dung for your farm to fertilize things, then you might want to kill a few Apnoths and come back. But, simply, if you want, you just go over to the requests, deliver it, and it's completed, and things will happen. And he's also mentioning about valuable commodities. I can hand them over for points, or optionally, some commodities can be saved for later use, which I will explain. Some of the commodities are commodities that are used for special things, not just selling. Some worth money, some have special effects in the game on certain things. You know, there's different things you can get. I'll go through them when I get to that point. And so the smithy wants to talk to me. Alright, and he wants to give my weapon a little upgrade. But I need to get the materials. So this is the point where they show you how to get materials, and if you haven't really checked out the weapon upgrading system, well, after you've gotten your materials, they will, well, they'll basically they encourage players to check it out. You won't get far without upgrading your equipment. But he gives me a free pickaxe, which is nice. And he has a request to give him 1 iron ore. Should be simple. But first, because it'd be painful if I lost my pickaxe and I had to go back, I'll spend a moment talking to a few NPCs and going out to purchase some more pickaxes.
Ooh.
Alright, so we get a little information of the history of the Wyvernian and the village elder. Sound like they were a little bit of a... They had a little bit of rivalry going on. And he gives me a little bit of cash. It certainly doesn't hurt talking to the village elder, considering he will give you a little cash every so often. I'd imagine that the cash that he gave me this time is because, well, just in case you managed to break your pickaxe on the first try and you didn't get the iron ore, you'd have a little extra cash, you know, margin of error. We're gonna buy 5. Pickaxes are always lovely to have. Now, how the pickaxes work is when you're using a tool to gather with, then there's a chance that the tool will break. If you have equipment setups, tools will break less often, but eventually they're going to break. There's a chance of it breaking. So you can get really unlucky and all your tools break instantly, or you can get really lucky and your tools pretty much come unscathed. Depending on the quality of the tool, they will have a greater or lesser chance of breaking. And as he mentions, there is a cave in Area 4. We now have access to a little cavern. It's great for mining, but it's dark, as he mentions. So that's where he mentions that you can pick up a torch if you haven't noticed it by now. Never leave home without it. Torches aren't all too useful in the game. Usually you'll be able to see just fine without the torches, but they can come in handy, I guess. There's a few gimmicks you can do with them. But that'll be much later in the game where I can show off the so-called gimmicks. For now, let's grab our torch and head out. As you can see, we cannot dash with our torch out. So, I'm going to take my torch away and go running off. Gonna take a quick look at the night sky. There is a lot of nebulas and solar systems that we can see out there. Well, it's kind of amazing. And he's reminding us that we do actually need a pickaxe. Like, we cannot just gather from rocks without a pickaxe. And as you can see, it is pitch black. So we need to go using our torch. There is, at the very least, dim light at the exit, so we can always find our way out, at the very least. But as you can see, it's not too terribly dark. We can still see. It's not that bad, and as you can see, the exit is lit. But there's a little area here. Seems like the felines have a little settlement here. And if you have any items stolen from you, from the Malinxes, you can gather them here. get them back. There is a chance that, very small chance, that you will not get them back. But for some reason, the cats want my blood, so I'm gonna leave. They normally don't attack you. For some reason, they decided they don't like me today. Not sure what's wrong, or not wrong with that, but what's up with that. Now, to explain about mining, there's been a few changes. In the previous series of games, mining nodes were basically just cracks in the wall, and they were very stationary. In this game, they're actually just big, huge chunks of ore. Most likely you'd know the system from if you've played games like World of Warcraft, where it's just a big rock with shiny chunks of whatever ore in the rock. Now, you may be going, but what hamster? There's no chunk of ore. This is just a crack in the wall. You're doing it like in the old games. Well, actually, sneakily, if you do pay attention and look very closely, you can see they put a chunk of rock that you can mine from in the wall here. You can just barely see it in the crack if you properly zoom in and look very carefully. So they're very sneaky with this. So old players will be looking for a big crack like this. As you can see, there's like a rock in the wall in the middle there. But old players will be looking for cracks like this. New players will be looking around for perhaps the big blocky rocks. But for now, we're gonna go do some spelunking and explore the caverns. And there we can get a view of a rock. And this is what I mean, like, they are literally rocks. When they're exhausted, they will disappear. Unfortunately, this one exhausted in one hit. As you can see, it disappeared. Wasn't a very good look at them, but it gives you an idea. And don't mind me, I'm just messing around with the controls. And there's a bit of a better view of these rocks. And there's a new enemy type. It is a Gigi. They are afraid of torches and fire. So this is where having a torch out is really handy. As you can see, the Gigi is backing off from the fire. And this will be important to pay attention to later, as this sort of monster, it's like an indicator that they're weak and afraid to fire. But it's always handy when you're in a cavern where these enemies show up, just to have a torch with you and go mining. They will leave you alone. If you go mining without a torch, they will lynch mob you and interrupt your mining, so that's never any fun. Now we could go to the bird wyvern nest that way, but we're not going to. But, it's a way in and out of the area. But to climb, we do need to put away our torch. So, I believe we got what we came for. And a little bit extra. So, it should be safe to head back. Alright. And the village chief just wants to remind us that we should use our time exploring and collecting items, seeing what you can get in different areas. Also, it never hurts for new players to just combine random items, see what happens. I mean, you can see if the items that you've chosen are combinable or not, and what they're combinable with, but just, to see what they give. It's always handy. Getting a nice view of the night sky before we head back to the town. Yeah. I do like that you can see the village in the distance. And now that we have the ore, we can safely deliver it to the Wyvernian artisan. We have 6, he only needs 1, so that makes things easy. And he's praising us. And he's going to give us a little lesson in upgrading. So, we've taken a look at upgrading our weapons, making armor, but what about upgrading armor? Well, in a moment he will give us a special item. Or perhaps not. Either way, eventually he will give us some items. But as you can see, like, we have 5 iron ore, and we could potentially upgrade our weapon. For now, I guess I will have to wait with the whole talking about upgrading armors. Or perhaps not. Not entirely sure when that happened. Either way, for now, I'll see you next time. Later.